Shalom Israel, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Rakatah, Lahakim. What I just said in the Hebrew was may Yahweh watch over you in the name of Yahweh Shai. You know what I'm saying? Who the real inwardly calls Jesus Christ. His real name is Yahweh Shai Mashiach. You know what I'm saying? The Heavenly Father's name is Yahweh. Excuse me, Yahweh, which means He is. So we got an ISUPK, the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. We started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. You know what I'm saying? Since 1969, we've been spreading this truth to so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That we are God's chosen people, the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. You know what I'm saying? And our job is to wake up so-called Blacks and Hispanics to the truth, according to the Bible, to give them their nationality, to give them their history. You know what I'm saying? To give them the instructions that was given to us by the Most High God through our records, which we know today as the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So I'm Officer 500 Naharia Allah. I'm under Captain Azania, under Commander General Yohana. You know what I'm saying? And the topic of today's class is God hates Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? We got Thanksgiving coming up. We got Thanksgiving coming up. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of our people are going to fall for the trick bag. We call it the trick bag because you were tricked into celebrating a holiday that's not yours. Not only were you tricked into celebrating a holiday that's not yours, you're tricked into celebrating a holiday that's talking about the downfall of your people. So Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are God's chosen people, the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. You know what I'm saying? 12 tribes make up one nation. Just like 50 states in America make up one nation, 12 tribes made up our nation. And those tribes will be known today as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we got the 12 tribe chart. Of course, we could break it down for you. You know what I'm saying? If you got any questions, put it in the chat. We can tell you about the chart. You know what I'm saying? We can tell you about each tribe. But we're going to go into Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? We're just going to go into the classic. So we read out of the King James Bible. The King James Bible is the most accurate translation out of all of the versions of the Bible we have today. Because the so-called white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. So what he did was deceive a lot of our people by using these newer translations, where now they take out certain words that's implementing that this might be talking about you. Because the white man, one thing he is, he's not dumb. He knows we don't know who we are. And he knows that we are searching. We are searching for who we are, because that's why we're lost in the first place. That's why we're the lost sheep, because we don't know who we are. So what he does is, in your search to find out who you are, he put things in play for you to fall for. Like the Egyptian nonsense. He put that in play. Y'all the Egyptians. Y'all the Africans over there. Yeah. No, y'all African. Oh, no, y'all from Ghana. Y'all from Nigeria. Yeah. Y'all all of those things. That's the so-called white man, because he knows you trying to find out who you are. Oh, Ancestry.com. Oh, do your DNA test. The DNA test is such a joke. What people would need their DNA tested? What people would need their DNA tested? Of people who don't know who they are. That's it. It's a joke. So we're going to go into the scripture. You know, of course, that's what we do. The first scripture is the book of Amos, chapter 5, verse 21. And it reads, I despise your feast days. You know what I'm saying? Why would God hate our feast days? God would hate our feast days because our feast days that we celebrate were not given by him. You know what I'm saying? Thanksgiving was not ordained by the Most High God. He said, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. So when we gather together and pray over that turkey and that pork, the Most High God hates that. Want to know why? I'm going to show you why right now. This is the book of Leviticus chapter 23. God is very, 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 very intelligent. So unlike us, the fools that we are, how naive that we are, God gave us instructions. God gave us a manual on how to live. And he's not going to tell us to do something that he didn't instruct us to do. You know what I'm saying? This is why he always said, I brought them by the hand out of Egypt. See, God dealt with us when we weren't a nation, when we weren't a people. You know what I'm saying? Well, he made us who we are. He gave us our laws, statutes, and commandments. He gave us our morality because we would be just like the heathen. So this is the book of Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocation, even these are my feasts. So in the book of Leviticus, the Most High God has a whole chapter of feasts, starting with the Sabbath day. So the Sabbath day is a feast day. It is a high holy day. You know what I'm saying? So what we do is this. Because the white man ain't teaching us. He's not teaching us to keep the high holy days in the Bible. The white man is teaching us to keep his holy days, his holidays. That's just what he's gonna do. Because he always did that. He always made the slaves and the tourists and the people who just obsessed with his way of life, he always made them follow his ways. That's just what he do. Matter of fact, anybody in power would do that. So we're gonna get into a little bit of the history of Thanksgiving. First and foremost, for you to understand Thanksgiving, you gotta understand that the identity of the Native Americans have been taken from them the same way that it's been taken from us. You know what I'm saying? So our brothers and sisters came over to this land before anybody. Our brothers and sisters dwelt in this land. And their intentions was to come over here and to keep the commandments of God. This is why you find a lot of artifacts over here, a lot of Hebrew artifacts. You find the 10 Commandments. They found the 10 Commandments written in stone in a mountain in America. You know what I'm saying? This is why you find the border of blue with the fringes on their garments. This is why you find a lot of our customs mixed into the customs of the Native American Indian, because we are the same people. And over time, they lost their way, just like all of us. Over time, they were coerced into following another gospel, another doctrine. So we got Genesis. This is a little bit of proof who the Native American Indians is. So Jacob, our forefather, whose name was changed to Israel. So if you don't know, Jacob's name was changed to Israel, and he's the father of the 12 tribes. The 12 tribes are 12 sons. Each son became the progenitor of a tribe. You know what I'm saying? Joseph had 2 sons who became the progenitor of 2 tribes. So this is Genesis 49, and Jacob is calling unto his sons. So we read Genesis 49:1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which will befall you in the last days. So a brother had asked me, how do y'all know which tribe is with? So Jacob is prophesying because we are the children of the prophets. We are the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We are the children of all of the prophets you read about in the Bible. And Jacob is telling his sons This is going to befall you in the last days, meaning in the end. In the end, like the days we're living in now, he's speaking to our descendants, or the descendants of the 12 tribes, us, our forefathers. Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel, your father. You know what I'm saying? So now he's saying Shema. Shema means to listen, to hearken. Hearken unto Israel, your father. I'm just checking the value. You know what I'm saying? So now they coming around and they listening. What you got to say? Now he goes on a list of what's going to happen to each one. First he said, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel. This is what he's saying about Reuben. He's saying Reuben is unstable as water. Why is he using water? Because water will take on the shape of whatever object it is in. You know what I'm saying? Water is not something that's solid. Water moves. You know what I'm saying? Water can be moved. You know what I'm saying? That's why he's using water and saying he's unstable, and thou shalt not excel. Because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defilest thou it. He went up to my couch. So if y'all don't know any history, Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, slept with one of his wives. You know what I'm saying? He slept with one of his wives. Simeon and Levi are brethren. This will be Haiti and Dominican Republic. So Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitation. O my soul, come not thou into their secret, unto their assembly. Mine honor, be not thou united. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall. You know what I'm saying? I believe this is talking about what they did to the men that abused their sister, for lack of better words, because we're on social media, some terms can be used. So it was the men that abused their sister Dina. You know what I'm saying? And they slew a lot of men because of that. So I believe it's talking about that for them in their anger, because they're the ones who plotted together on it. They was on it. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. Because Jacob was mad about that. A heathen took our sister and defiled her. And the brothers like, yo, we're going to get back. So Simeon and Levi, what they did was made a plot to unalive all of them. So they say, yo, y'all want to be our brothers? Y'all just got to be circumcised. So circumcise yourself and then believe what we believe, and y'all be good. So when they circumcised themselves and they were sore, because that's a bad surgery for men, they went in and slew all the men. And Jacob was upset about that because he ain't want them to deal with them that way. You know what I'm saying? All of them didn't need to die for the mistakes of that one man. And that story is in the book of Genesis as well, too. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. So Simeon and Levi will be divided in Jacob and scattered in Israel. And they were. That prophecy happened many times, because when our kingdom was divided, when the kingdom of Israel was divided, Levi, half of Levi went with the northern kingdom. And the other half of Levi went with the southern kingdom. Us, Judah, the Jews. So the Jews will be known as Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. The blacks, the Jamaicans, the Haitians. We were always together because half of their tribe was split. You know what I'm saying? And Jacob prophesied this. Now he goes into Judah. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Because that's who we are. We are like the chief tribe. Like when it comes to like anything we do, all the other tribes follow along. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to style, when it comes to the way we are, even when it comes to Yahweh Shah, you know what I'm saying? When it came to David, You know what I'm saying? We are we have been put in the front. You know what I'm saying? We have, because our name means Yahweh praise the Most High, and we praise the Most High. You know what I'm saying? Nobody praised the Most High like Judah. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I said, "Thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. Good night. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Good night." This is a prophecy for Judah, but watch this. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion and as an old lion. Meaning that now you will be up, you'll be aroused, and then you're going to come down low. You're going to be low. That's Judah now. We are low. We so low because we don't know who we are. So what we doing? We enter religion, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, 5%ers, God bodies. We don't know that we are the Jews. We don't know we are Judah. We don't know we are God's chosen. We don't know that we are him who thy brethren shall praise. Because once this truth get lifted up, man, listen, our whole nation is going to be happy what we doing over here in Americas. Waking up our people, putting our boots on, giving them this truth, telling that brother, man, you're not just a Hispanic. You're not just Hispanic. You are from the lost tribes of the children of Israel. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be happy when they hear this. But they're saying we are couched down as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up? Like, who going to get this old lion up? You know what I'm saying? This is the prophecy about us. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, meaning the kingdom. Because if you know anything about our histories, I'm gonna just give you it briefly so you can understand. All the kings were promised to come from Judah. All the kings were later promised to come from the lineage of King David. So every king you read about in the Bible is a descendant of King David, minus Saul. You know what I'm saying? Because God swore a promise to David. You know what I'm saying? And even here, before David, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet. What's between your feet? Your balls. So a lawgiver is not going to come, will not depart from Judah. This lawgiver we know is Yahweh Shai until Shiloh come. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. This is talking about Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ. This is one of the many prophecies in the Old Testament prophesying that a man that's coming from between the feet of Judah would have the scepter. You know what I'm saying? And that he will also be a lawgiver. For time's sake, you can read all of these. For time's sake, I'm going to skip down to Gad so you understand that Gad is our brother. You know what I'm saying? Verse 19. Gad, a troop shall overcome him. A troop shall overcome him, but he shall overcome at the last. My Gadite brothers, man, listen, it's time to rise up. It's time to Kwam Yasha'Allah. Because, a troop overcame them. Yeah, granted, that troop, you know what I'm saying? A troop overcame all of us. But we're going to overcome in the end. You know what I'm saying? We are going to overcome in the end. Out of Asher, his bread shall be fat. So, boom. That's God. I'm going to go into Deuteronomy real quick. So, another thing we have to understand is that our people, the 12 tribes, were cursed. We were all cursed by God. You know what I'm saying? That we would go into captivity under our enemies and that we would lose our identity. We would be serving other gods. So, I'm going to go into that a little bit too. So this Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So this is why all the curses on us, because we will not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. The voice of the Lord thy God is this. The voice of the Lord thy God is this Bible. This is the word of the Lord. This is his voice. This is him saying, thus saith the Lord. So it's a whole plethora of curses. I'm going to just get a few. So verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded. And they shall be a sign upon thee, or Salakia, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Verse 47, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, and and for the abundance of all things. This is it right here. Verse 48. Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Watch this. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from one end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. This is the so-called white man. As swift as the eagle flieth. And he destroyed our brothers and sisters, man. He did. So, boom, we got something here. Got a little history. You know how I like to do. I like to bring the history. If you can't hear, put it in the chat.
The year was 1620, and a boat of people calling themselves separatists, more famously today called the Pilgrims, landed in present-day Massachusetts. We all know by heart, but it may 16.
I'm checking the volume. Okay.
1920, and a boat of people calling themselves separatists, more famously today called the Pilgrims, landed in present-day Massachusetts. It's a story we think we all know by heart, but it may surprise you to know that your repertoire of knowledge is missing a few key details, like the fact that less than half the people on the Mayflower were actually pilgrims, or that religious freedom wasn't their only motivation for sailing to the New World. Nevertheless, their journey and subsequent writing of the famous Mayflower Compact has staked a major spot in American history. Their story is one of hardship and preservation, ideals that inspired countless other early settlers and left a significant mark on the minds of the American people.
So, their story is a bunch of hardships and preservation. So, these people, one thing you're going to learn about these people love their history. They love who they are, and I don't knock them. They should. You know what I'm saying? It's your people, it's your history. But we should not, though, because their hardship and their preservation led to the downfall and the destruction and the slaughter and murder of over 100 million Native American Indians. Over 100 million. You know what I'm saying? They just kept slaughtering and slaughtering and slaughtering and slaughtering. You know what I'm saying? But still, and they'll boldly tell you, yeah, Thanksgiving, yeah, we killed a lot of Indians. Yeah, we took this land. They're so prideful. They're not even hiding the fact. They might lie to the kids, but look it up. They're going to tell you, yeah, we broke the treaty. Yeah, we gave them blankets. And these are the people in your White House. These are the people who are in your government. These are the people we look up to. These are the people who we praise. Andrew Jackson, call him, but Andrew Jackson unalive. You know what I'm saying? Do some research on the Trail of Tears and find out that Andrew Jackson, the man that's on your $20 bill, who he became president based off a lot of these acts that he committed, he walked 20 minutes. Let's look it up real quick. How many Indians he walked? I don't want cap. We're gonna get it. 100,000 indigenous people were forced out of their homes. Good night. By a man that we look up to. By a man whose face is on our money. Andrew Jackson. I'm gonna do a little history on that. Boom. The Trail of Tears in U.S. history, the forced relocation during the 1830s of Eastern Woodlands Indians of the southeast region of the Choctaw and Seminole, among other nations, to Indian Territory west of the Mississippi River. Estimates based on tribal and military records suggest that approximately 100,000 indigenous people were forced from their homes during that period, which is sometimes known as the removal area, and that some 15,000 died during this journey west. The term Trail of Tears invokes the collective suffering those people experience, although it is most commonly used in reference to the removal experience of the Southeast Indians, generally, and the Cherokee Nation specifically. The physical trail consisted of several overland routes and one main water route, and by passage of the Omnibus Public Lands Management Act in 2009, stretched some 5,045 miles across portions of 9 states. These people are evil as hell. You walk Native American Indians over 9 states while you were unalive. Good night. Start it off. Watch.
In the years prior to 1620, a group of people had grown increasingly frustrated with the Church of England, also known as the Anglican Church. These people, who wanted to separate from the Anglican Church to worship in their own way, began to face religious persecution in England. They tried to worship in secret, but that was no way to live. I know what you're thinking.
So now, these same pilgrims, right? Now they trying to worship. And now they want to believe in God. How the hell you going to believe in God when you're a liar? When God hates liars. Let me get this real quick. How you going to go somewhere to worship God when God hates you? First, God hates Edomites. Boom, watch this. Boom, watch it. Shalom, sis. I was shy. Boom, watch this. They said that they wanted to go and worship their own God. They were called separatists. So this is what they're saying. They weren't always called pilgrims. They were called separatists because they wanted to separate from the religious state that they were in. Some say, they try to say it was King James. King James didn't like them. I don't blame King James why he didn't like these Edomites. But they want to go and worship God. How are you going to worship God when you're a liar? Listen to these scriptures real quick. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 6, verse 16. These 6 things doeth the Lord hate. Oh my God. God hates. God hates. These 6 things doeth the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. God hates you, white people. He hates y'all. Y'all came over here and slaughtered millions of Indians, and then y'all just walk around like y'all are the status quo of a peacemaker, a judge. Y'all gonna sit on judges seats and judge over people for crimes that you yourself have not been judged for those crimes. Your people stole this land. Your people unalived them Native American Indians, unalived the Taino Indians. Your people forced them into slavery. Your people lied about who they are. Your people lied and called them all kinds of names other than the children of God. You know what I'm saying? Your people lied and said that they weren't the Israelites. Same thing they did with us. And then y'all shed innocent blood. The Lord hates that. Let me get another one. Salakia. Y'all can continue. It's 7 things the Lord hates right there. It's many more things the Lord hates. He just put them in categories. I think that's chapter 3. Woe to them. Where's I think it's chapter 1. Was the Salakia. Oh, here we go, right here. Boom. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood and established a city by iniquity. That's the so-called white man. He built these towns and these cities and these states with blood, and he established them with iniquity. Iniquity is sin, meaning crimes against God. And woe means destruction. So Habakkuk is destruction to these people who build a town with blood and establish a city by iniquity. It's a lot, yeah.
This is when the Pilgrims came to America. Not quite. Actually, they fled to the Netherlands, hoping to establish a new life there. They settled in Leiden, Holland for several years, but still weren't happy. Their main goal was to establish a home where they could live their lives as Englishmen and worship their religion in their own way.
So their main goal, Shalom priest, so their main goal was to find a home, and so they can worship their religion. Like the lies of the so-called white man, they wanted to conquer. They believe in something called manifest destiny, where they believe that they are destined by God to take over the known world and to make everybody Christians. That's what they believe. They didn't want to just worship their religion. They don't even believe in their religion. They don't even believe in it. Their religion is capitalism. You know what I'm saying? Their religion is money. They just mask it with Christianity because they know you're stupid enough to fall for it. Turn into a Christian and you'll never, ever, ever hate me for the crimes I committed. Meanwhile, they hate everyone. America hates everyone. They are still in Afghanistan and in Iraq to this day. They're still over there in the Middle East. They're still giving money to Ukraine to fight a war. They hate Russia. They still are in the midst of all this evil. But I thought you wanted to come over here and worship your religion. Their religion is money. This is why the scriptures say they talk like a dragon with a forked tongue, because they're lying. They're lying. Don't believe them. The scriptures say this. The scriptures say they are born speaking lies. The wicked go estranged straight out the womb, speaking lies. You know what I'm saying? Good night.
They weren't interested in assimilating to Dutch life. Their children were starting to speak Dutch and abandon their English way of life. The separatists wanted to have a home of their own. Across the Atlantic Ocean, the New World was just what the Pilgrims were looking for. Arranging the trip wasn't easy, but on September 6, 1620, a boat called the Mayflower set sail from Plymouth, England, with 102 passengers who were looking to start a new life. Only about 40 of them were Pilgrims. 66 days later, they spotted land in present-day Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And while that is where they eventually set up Plymouth Colony, it isn't where they intended to sail. Originally, they had signed a contract with the famous Virginia Company to settle north of Jamestown and possibly near the Hudson River. Treacherous storms and seas made the journey south too difficult, so they turned back and went ashore near Cape Cod. Plan A, a settlement near the Hudson River under the control of the Virginia Company, had failed, and Plan B, a settlement in Massachusetts, was about to face its first test. Passengers on the Mayflower began to argue amongst themselves about how their new settlement would be governed. They had expected to follow the rules of the Virginia Company, but that ship had sailed, and the passengers had questions. What were the laws? Who was in charge? How would decisions be made? Thanks to the journal of William Bradford, a Pilgrim leader on board the Mayflower who would later become a governor of Plymouth Colony, we know that 41 adult male colonists signed a famous document known as the Mayflower.
Look at this. In the name of God, amen. We whose names are underwritten, the loyal subjects of our dread sovereign Lord, King James. By the grace of God of Great Britain, France, Ireland, King, defender of the faith, having undertaken for the glory of God and advancement of the Christian faith and the honor of our king and country, a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia, do solemnly and mutually in the presence of God and one another covenant and combine ourselves together into a civil body politic for our better ordering and preservation and furtherance and ends. These devils, they're nasty. First off, they hate King James and they wanted to separate King James. Then they make a deal talking about our dread and sovereign Lord, King James, and his God. They wanted to spread the Christian faith by the sword. Good night.
Mayflower Compact on November 11th, 1620. They vowed to, solemnly and mutually, in the presence of God and one another, covenant and combine ourselves together into a civil body politic. Essentially, they promised to remain loyal to King James of England, uphold their Christian faith, and work together to create a self-governing society.
And they lied at everything. They weren't loyal to no king. They end up actually going to war with them. You know what I'm saying? They went to war with the Indian. Listen, war is in. Let me get this scripture real quick. I'm going to tell you something about this white man. One thing I can tell you is the Most High God has his number. He knows this man more than anybody. He knows him. In the Bible, he's known as the wicked. In the Bible, he's known as the devil. In the Bible, he's known as Esau. Let me see. Boom. Got it. Here we go right here. This is the white man. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 55 and 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. This is how you know this is a black man. This is a black man, bro. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. War is in the heart of the white man. Like, we want to cling to him the whole time he's at war with us. No, he's not punching you in your face. He can too. He will. And he will shoot you in your kitchen while you begging the white Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Or he can just go into a Thompson Buffalo and just shoot everybody black he see. But his warfare is a little different. He's at economic war with you. He's at spiritual war with you. He's at financial war with you. He's at war with you on levels that you don't even understand. And you believe his words because the politicians. That's why. The politics. you think that his way of life is your way of life. It's not. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Good night. Good night. They better get to the good part, man. They better get to it. This
means that the adult men agreed to elect their own leaders to govern the colony. It didn't mean they were declaring their independence from England. That wouldn't happen for another 156 years. After signing the Mayflower Compact, they promptly elected John Carver to be governor of their new colony. The entirety of the Mayflower Compact was short, only about 200 words long, but it had a profound impact on history. It established self-government for the English in Plymouth colony and was a stepping stone to the democratic government that would later be formed in America. The decision over governments had been settled, but that soon became the least of their problems. The Pilgrims had arrived in New England in November, and winter would not be kind. Without a reliable food source in the winter months, of the 102 passengers of the Mayflower, only about 50 survived past that first winter. When spring arrived, so did a renewed hope for survival thanks to the kindness of members of the Wampanoag tribe. A man named Squanto taught the Pilgrims how to grow new crops. The tribal chief must
Look it. He got the border of blue and the fringes on with the braid, the famous braid of the Indians. The Indians was famous for having their hair braided. You know what I'm saying? Having fire garments. Why they try to make them seem like they were just savages.
Signed a treaty with the Pilgrims. In exchange for food and help, the Pilgrims agreed to defend the tribe against their enemies. In the fall of 1621, the English and Wampanoag tribe came together to celebrate a traditional harvest festival. In 1863, President Lincoln would commemorate the time of gratitude and camaraderie by establishing a national holiday called Thanksgiving. In 1621, the Pilgrims' story was far from over, and their impact would be felt for generations to come.
Yo, they are evil as hell, yo. They are evil as hell. Like, why the hell would you... Listen, first and foremost, they're lying. You know what I'm saying? They're lying. They skipped out a lot of bloodshed. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get it for you, though. We ain't going to go without nothing interesting. You know what I'm saying? They skipped out a lot of bloodshed because this is what they want you to believe Thanksgiving is. Lying. Watch this. They make it seem so good too. This shit right here. This over here, Slovakia. All right, boom. I think this is right here.
American schools generally teach a conventional story about the meeting of Pilgrims and Indians that finished with an amazing dinner. The end. But there's more to the tale. This video will explain the events around the first Thanksgiving and how it's not the image ingrained in tradition. At the start of the 17th century, southern New England was home to a variety of busy communities within several confederations. These were the people of the first light, and they called their home the Dawnland. Political leaders were known as sachems and had been trading with Europeans for over 100 years before the Pilgrims. Relations soured only after deceitful Europeans kidnapped locals to sell as slaves. Permanent European settlement was impossible due to the already high population of native occupants. But in 1616, tradesmen introduced a disease to the Dawnland, whose inhabitants died in droves from a lack of immunity. In 3 years, up to 90% were wiped out in several confederations, including the Wampanoag. Their head sachem, Massasoit, was aware of how close they were to being subjugated by their unafflicted enemy, the Narragansett. He was determined to save his people from such a fate. This was the political world the Pilgrims were about to enter. The Pilgrims were not called Pilgrims by their contemporaries. They were known as Separatists, a branch of the English Puritans. King James hated Puritans and began persecuting them in 1604. So the Separatists fled to Holland, where they were free to worship. But because they feared
Of course, a white King James, a white everybody.
losing their national and communal identity, the congregation wanted a new place to plant their church. They decided on America and asked King James for a patent that would grant them rights to build a colony. They planned to make a profit catching fish to pay off the debts to their investors. The Mayflower set sail on September 6th. 2 months later, Cape Cod was spotted and 16 men were sent ashore to inspect the area. Unfortunately, the settlers didn't know how to fish and food was running out. They resorted to stealing from graves, homes, and storage pits to keep everyone alive. Then came their first hostile encounter with natives, but no one was killed. On December 12th, they reached New Plymouth. They did not land on any specific rock, but folklore insists they did. Construction began in January. By winter's end, 44 settlers would be dead from bad conditions. In March, they were surprised when a man named Samoset walked into New Plymouth, greeting them in English. He told them they were building on top of a village called Patuxet, whose residents had all died from the recent epidemic. It belonged to the Wampanoag, and their chief, Massasoit, was watching them. The settlers were eager to trade, so 5 days later, Samoset returned with furs and companions, including Tisquanto. Known famously as Squanto, he had come to tell them in perfect English that Massasoit had arrived. After years of dealing with Englishmen, the Sachem did not trust the newcomers. Edward Winslow was sent to be a hostage and declared the settlers' peaceful intentions. Satisfied, Massasoit walked into New Plymouth and was regally greeted by the governor. A peace treaty was created, ensuring mutual protection if attacked by enemies.
Then they got the Indian dude smoke. Let's see about these treaties. Boom. So we got this is the History Channel. Broken treaties with Native American tribes. Between the Revolutionary War and the aftermath of the Civil War, over the course of almost a century, the United States and Native American nations signed some 368 treaties that would define their relationship for centuries to come. The treaties keyed off of the fundamental idea that each tribal group was an independent nation with their own right to self-determination and self-rule. But as white settlers began moving onto Native American lands, this idea came into conflict with the relentless pace of westward expansion, resulting in many broken promises on the part of the United States government. Good night. That's the truth. I don't know, they trying to sugarcoat it on them damn cartoons. I think he was going to get to it, though, but for time's sake, we're just going to get the articles. Treaties with the Delawares, Treaties of Fort Pitt, 1778. Treaty of Hopewell. Damn. Treaty of Chattanooga. So all of these treaties they broke. Treaty of Greenville. Treaty of Fort Wayne. Andrew Jackson and the Indian Removal Act. This one we covered a little bit. Over the decade that Andrew Jackson served as a federal commissioner, he negotiated 9 out of 11 treaties signed with Native American tribes in the Southeast, including the Choctaws, Chickasaws, or the Chickasaws, Creeks, Seminoles, and Cherokees, in which the tribes gave up a total of some 50 million acres of land in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi, Kentucky, and North Carolina. These devils took 50 million acres of land in treaties. They are lying. How are you going to sign a treaty to take over somebody's land? That's just crazy. Elected president in 1828. So this is what made him president. He was elected president after this. Jackson spearheaded the Indian Removal Act, 1830, through Congress, by which the United States government granted land west of the Mississippi River to native tribes who agreed to give up their homeland. Like, you got to use your common sense when dealing with the white man. Why would the U.S. government grant land west that don't belong to them to people who they are at war with, who agree to give up their homelands? Like, this is just utter nonsense, man. Though removal was supposed to be voluntary, in practice, Jackson used threats of withheld payments and legal and military action to conclude nearly 70 removal treaties over the course of his presidency, opening up some 25 million acres of land in the South to white settlement and slavery. Treaty of New Dakota, Fort Laramie Treaty, 1868. So they still signing treaties with the white man, like, and they ain't learned. In 1868, we just getting our freedom. But yeah, that's for the treaties. Let me see if they got something good in the rest of this video that we can get up out of here with that. Seems like they trying to sugarcoat it. We'll talk about how they start killing everybody. I might get to it.
With the help of Squanto, New Plymouth settlers began to fare better. He taught them how to grow crops and was absolutely vital as an interpreter. To the separatists, he was a gift from God. But in fact, Squanto had been kidnapped from Patuxet in 1614 and shipped to Spain to be sold into slavery. He ended up in London at the home of a merchant who taught him English and arranged for Squanto's return to the Dawnland in 1619. But Patuxet was now gone, wiped away by the epidemic. Massasoit took him in with suspicion because of his years abroad, but needed a translator to parley with the newcomers. He eventually sent his warrior Hobamok to live among the settlers and keep an eye on Squanto. By fall, the settlers had a bountiful harvest and a feast was held to celebrate. Massasoit showed up with 90 warriors and 5 deer for the meal. For 3 days, the English and Wampanoag ate and entertained one another. This was the famous first Thanksgiving children learn about in school. However, the word Thanksgiving would not have been used by these settlers to denote a harvest feast. For Puritans, a day of Thanksgiving was a day of fasting while giving thanks to God in prayer. But the story of Pilgrims and Indians does not end here. During New Plymouth's first year, Squanto had been up to something. Realizing his substantial power as the only English speaker of his people, he conceived a plan to overthrow Massasoit. He persuaded locals he could command the English to make war or peace at his will. Hobamok was suspicious of Squanto and warned Governor Bradford. Soon enough, they discovered Squanto's plot and informed Massasoit, who was furious. He demanded Squanto be handed over for a swift execution. Bradford refused. The interpreter was too valuable to give up. But according to the treaty, Squanto's life belonged in the hands of his sachem. Bradford finally conceded. He was about to hand over Squanto when an unidentified ship appeared. The alarm it caused delayed Bradford and worried Massasoit's envoys. Angered and impatient, they left. The ship carried 60 Englishmen planning to build a colony near Boston. They abused the Massachusetts locals, initiating a conspiracy to kill the colonists. Warned about the plot, New Plymouth's leaders launched a preemptive strike to save their impudent countrymen. It brought peace for a time. In that time, more Puritan settlers arrived, soon outnumbering the natives. And while the Pilgrims' Treaty with Massasoit lasted until the sachem's death, other Puritans were not concerned with such alliances. Their fanatic religious principles ensured no peace between the two cultures could last. To Puritans, Native Americans were the other, wild, savage, godless. With such an ideology, the outcome was inevitable. If they did not convert to Christianity and surrender their cultural identity,
if they not now, a lot of this stuff, I'm not gonna lie to you, it sound like bullshit. I'm gonna just keep it real with you. But you gotta chew the meat and spit out the bones. This part right here is really where they're kind of trying to tell the truth a little bit, because now they're starting to get to the point where they feel like these Indians are savages and wild, and we need to civilize them with Christianity. Where was your civilization with Christianity when I came over here? Yeah, I needed the Native Americans and took their land. Even how they got the land sounded like a lie right here, but we know how to read in between it. They ain't gonna really be completely honest. You just gotta let them tell on themselves for what it is.
Had to be eliminated. The first Thanksgiving was They did not convert to Christianity. To Puritans, Native Americans were the other, wild, savage, godless. With such an ideology, the outcome was inevitable. If they did not convert to Christianity and surrender their cultural identity, they had to be eliminated. The first Thanksgiving was a brief moment of harmony between two worlds, but sadly it was short-lived. The capitalist opportunities the Dawnland presented, combined with zealous puritanical beliefs, were incentive enough to wipe away the native inhabitants. There is nothing wrong with sharing a feast of thanks with loved ones, but
there is nothing wrong with sharing a feast of thanks with loved ones. On the day,
remember the true events that started the holiday, and not the fairy tale.
Man, God hates Thanksgiving. God is against that. Those are your brothers. You know what I'm saying? This was your brotherland. You wouldn't celebrate the death of your brother. So don't do it. You know what I'm saying? On those days, we are not with it. We are on the side of God. Leviticus chapter 23 gave you a plethora of high holy days to celebrate. We got the Feast of Dedication coming up on the 14th. We're going to have a clothing drive that day. You know what I'm saying? Possibly a food drive. So snap out of this whole white man system. Matter of fact, get the scripture. We'll end it with this swap here. This is what you gotta do. You gotta learn where they lied at. Learn where it's wrong. I don't care how you feel. You can't put your personal feelings in something that involves the bigger picture of your people. So this Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people." The come out of her is talking about this great nation that sits on many waters, which is prophesied to be Babylon the Great. That nation is America. And when it's saying come out of her, my people, it's talking about take your spirit out of this place. Get your spirit out of this place, man. This place is going to cause you to be destroyed because you don't know that the man that destroyed you is an enemy to God. He is an enemy to God, and God is going to destroy him. Now, if you're hand in hand with him, you're going to be destroyed. And I'm just warning you. I'm warning you. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm doing. I ain't trying to tell you what to do. I ain't trying to convince you. I'm warning you. If you do not let go of the white man's hand and let go of his way of life, his holidays, his Thanksgiving, his Christmas, God is going to destroy him. And if you're hanging on with him, you're going to be destroyed. Listen, I'm going to read it again. And I heard another voice from heaven, slugging. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues." Because what's going on is this. God is doing something amazing on the earth. One, he's giving his identity, the identity of his people back. And he's giving us the wisdom of the Lord at the same time. He's giving us the breath of life. And then at the same time, he's destroying our enemies. America is finna crumble. America is finna crumble along with all these other nations. And if you hanging on to this, man, if you won't come up out of her, you're going to die with it. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? And Lord allow, I want all our people to stop this madness. I want all our people to come back to the Most High God. You know what I'm saying? And give up all this nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Because how else can we thrive? We can't thrive while he thrives. We can't. The scripture said this: what fellowship have righteousness with wickedness? Like, we can't be righteous while this man is wicked. It don't mix. It's never gonna mix because he never intended on serving God. He intended on serving himself, and you wanted to serve him. You know what I'm saying? And with that, shalom. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatah to the brothers. Yahweh Shema Alatah Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai to the sisters. This is the ISUPK Brotherhood class. Tomorrow is the law class with priest and officer Sabiyah. Shalom.